Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I am with Noah Seidman. We are doing part two of this interview, and we're going to be doing this video around cryptocurrencies. The first one was on economics. I really liked that talk. Noah broke down different aspects of the economy and what's affecting our fiat currency and why inflation keeps rising. And now we're going to talk about something that's new to a lot of people, and that is a deflationary asset. You've heard of inflation, you've heard of hyperinflation, you've heard of stagflation, you've heard of, well, now we're going to talk about deflation. So there we go. Noah, how are you doing?
Pretty good today. It's another day, and every day we're trying to figure out how to best navigate these systems. To start off, we talked last time about economics and like legacy markets, and probably the most important thing to do is to first understand them.
Yes.
And the way I like to describe these crypto markets that you're interested in talking about now is in terms of legacy markets. They're analogous to the point where it's stark, and it's like, wow, you could literally talk about crypto assets in terms of dividends and Forex and money markets. And I find that spectacular.
Yeah, especially in a day and age where there are very few dividends and very little yield. You want to talk about yield?
There's negative real yield. I used to, when I was a kid, entertain REITs like Realty Income Corporation. They're giving you monthly dividends, 4.18%. Notice how I know the number because my wife still holds some.
Oh,
But that's, as we've talked about last time, that's probably about minus 15% real yield.
yeah.
Now, obviously, you could take into consideration the appreciation of the principal component of the position, which is probably inflating. The price is inflating. But that is not the way, or it's not a very manageable way of attacking the markets. I
Exactly.
like to neglect principle, because if you're thinking about principle, you're heading down the road of trading.
That's right.
And that's not something I'm interested in. It's too much work, it's too much effort, and that's not the optimal way to attack the markets and maintain sanity.
Well, and principle is relative only to where we are in whatever market cycle we're talking about investing in, right? I mean, we've seen principle explode in the housing market in the early 2000s and then completely get annihilated after 2007. So let's talk about that now in relation to cryptocurrency. You've got the floor.
So what I love about crypto is where I am now compared to where I was. Now, most people come into crypto and they see the same thing they see in legacy markets. They see a ticker. They say, "What's the price?" They say, "How cheap is it? How expensive?" That's why Doge is so popular. It's so cheap, and that's why SHIB is so popular. It's so cheap, but they don't consider the countless factors. And what's more important is that it's truthful to state that's the wrong thing to look at.
Yes.
Because you have to buy low, sell high in order to capitalize when entertaining a market like that. And the reason I don't look at markets like that anymore is because it requires too much work, and there's a better way. So my interests align much more with old school dividend investors. Like, if you follow a lot of folks on Twitter, they want their interest, they want their monthly income, they want their yearly income. And so I'm a dividend investor in the crypto space.
I got a great segue since we're talking about Shiba and Doge. People ask me all the time, is it a good idea? Is it a good thing to buy? I'm like, ugh. I mean, are you asking me if it's going to go up? That's all they want to know. Yes, it's going to go up. Yeah, sure, it's going to go up because the whole market, we're in a long-term bull market right now. We haven't peaked, in my opinion. But here's the thing. We're going to go into this deflationary thing. Every year, there's more Doge that gets dumped on the market. It is an inflationary blockchain. Whereas Bitcoin and many others like Digibyte and countless others, Litecoin and all these other ones, every year there's fewer and fewer available until there's no more available. So I know you want to talk about deflationary assets. So let's start there.
So the first thing to look at these assets, as you're highlighting, is monetary policy. And the kicker is, just as I said, you're looking at the crypto space as you would legacy markets with dividends and money markets and Forex markets look at these assets as currencies. And you can't really do that with securities because I mean, you do have stock splits and inverse splits, but that's just annoying to even think about. But in the crypto space, you literally have um, it, emission schedules, which are literally like a defined disinflationary process. So the interesting thing is you can really look at a lot of these assets as currencies, and they are called cryptocurrencies. So the way you have a conversation about crypto assets is literally the same conversation that central bankers have at the Federal Reserve. They're talking about these very same topics. And I bet you if you were a fly on the wall, the conversations would be like, are they talking about crypto? It's just really
Exactly.
strange.
Yep.
So you highlighted some old school UTXO blockchains that are disinflationary. So the system has evolved significantly over the last couple of years, and historically it was UTXO, but which basically is Bitcoin, Litecoin, Digibyte, I don't know, 1,000 others, because
Yeah.
there was a 2017, 2018 market that was also red hot. But nowadays we have Ethereum is the predominant DeFi space, but you have Polygon, you have Solana, you have Avalanche, you have Phantom, you have Binance Smart Chain, Cardano eventually. But now you have platforms. So instead of individual currencies, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Digibyte, now you have platforms where anyone could launch an entire currency.
Yep.
I forgot to mention Polkadot and Cosmos, which that's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
But the point being, on these platforms of multiple currencies, the parameters of the currencies are programmable. They could have the same properties as Bitcoin to be disinflationary. They could be hyperinflationary, like Dogecoin, or they could be deflationary, where there's less and less circulating supply over time.
Yes.
Scarcity.
Yeah. So this is something totally new. So what kind of mental blocks have you ran into with people that ask you questions about cryptocurrency?
Well, we're already at a mental block stage with where we are with the conversation. We're
Mm-hmm.
talking about conversations that central bankers have, and that's a massive leap from the general public. I mean, even talking about the monetary policy of UTXO blockchains is a massive leap, and maybe even just talking about buying any kind of asset, even buying a property, is a massive leap for many persons,
Yeah.
and that these are massive barriers.
Yeah.
So that's why I take a certain approach when I talk to people that have never entertained cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
And I tell them, you're losing money every second of every day in a bank account.
Yeah.
And the number that's displayed on a screen in dollars isn't what you care about. So they should change it to say purchasing power. And then you log into your bank account and it's going up and down all day long, up and down, up and down. It's not a fixed number.
Yeah.
And I try and assert that that is a true factual real statement, because that's the first step. The first step is to encourage persons to not think of buying assets as a purchase. It's not a purchase.
Yeah.
People denominate in dollars, but what they need to denominate in is value.
That's right. That's why we hear the term stacking sats all the time. Certain people have understood that just even getting a Satoshi is very valuable because of its deflationary properties. Wouldn't you agree?
Disinflationary, but yes, and it over a long enough period of time, it should be valuable, meaningfully valuable. I mean, that's really where we are with the economy. It's just buy anything that isn't nailed down. So obviously, there's many other things that are very inhibitory to entertaining the space. It's intimidating.
Yes.
Monetary policy is extraordinarily intimidating, and most people just are thinking, "What do I buy? Is it a good price, and is it going to go up?" Now, here's an interesting tactic or way to think about when someone says that. You say, if Dogecoin goes to $10, what are you going to do with it?
Exactly.
Are you going to sell? You going to sell it for cash?
Yeah.
And then what are you going to do with cash? So one of the biggest hurdles is planning and just having a time horizon that's greater than 5 minutes.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I have some tokens that I can see the long-term value in, where I'm going, those will be held for so long. I'll be building companies around those tokens because I'll be putting them to work for what they were originally intended for, to actually
Collateral.
build wealth. Yeah, because a lot of these, they're smart contract machines. They're made to be used in a certain application, and it's way more than just getting dividends. You're looking at some of these spaces being absolutely massive. I mean, just thinking off the top of my head what Reggie Middleton was doing with Veritasium, products that were put on in place to do way more than just bring you a yield. It was intended to actually do a function of the economy.
Well, we could get to the awesomeness of DeFi, but I would highlight one further thing about any type of the old school UTXO assets, disinflationary assets. So sure, people want to sell at a higher price, but another thing to express is business. So it's a business education, and in money markets you have collateral.
Yes.
And you use it to take on debt positions, and you're able to leverage growth to expand a business. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons why I don't like old school style deployment of cash anymore in the crypto space, because I don't want to do that. I don't really want to expend effort with regard to business. I don't want to borrow, to figure out where to place leverage capital, to owe debt and have to make sure that my debt is collateralized, or I risk a margin call or
Yes.
liquidation. So that requires effort. So currently, there's the systems that you talked about, the systems that are completely analogous to legacy financial infrastructure, like money markets, Forex markets, or just exchanges.
Yes.
And the thing that I could start with and highlight is, how, this is for the audience, how when you go to the UK and you want to change dollars to pounds, who's holding the pounds to give it to you? So someone's providing liquidity.
Yep.
And I posed this question the other day on Twitter. I'm like, who's the liquidity providers? I want to take cash and put it into a real Forex market. And sure, you want pounds? Here's pounds. You want dollars? Here's dollars. I'm going to take 0.02%, and there's your conversion. So they have a complete monopoly on that. And what I love about DeFi is, over the last year and a half, they've created systems that disintermediate. That's very, very intimidating word. But basically, it takes that company, because it's probably just a company that holds a bunch of dollars and a bunch of pounds, and then they swap it back and forth, and they're taking fees all day long in Forex markets. So what disintermediation is, it says, instead of a company providing that liquidity, the whole general public, give me liquidity and I will give you transaction fees.
Let's do this. Sorry, I had to mute. There's some background noise. Let's talk about this guy. I've only got a few minutes left, but you talked about being intimidated. And to say that the DeFi space is intimidating, even for someone like me that's been around since late 2016, what are some things that someone can do to protect themselves or to learn about how to fight? There's many scams out there, especially in the DeFi space. So what can they do to better prepare themselves for learning about this?
You hear through the madness. And this is how I got into crypto. And this is why it was March and the system was crashing. And I bought RenVM masternodes and I bought Curve at 30 cents, because I didn't care about what was going up 1,000%. I didn't care about the hot asset. What I saw was these financial tools and products and utilities. So the best way to get over the emotions of getting involved is to start with cash. You got cash in a bank account, you turn it into USDC, GUSD, which is an entire process unto itself. It requires an education. Put cash over the Gemini, you're able to convert dollars into GUSD. Then you have to get a hardware wallet and take the GUSD, put it on your hardware wallet, and then you put that cash into Aave, which is a digital money market, which is if it walks like a bank and talks like a bank, it is a bank.
So, it's funny. I still have not. I've been using Gemini for years, and I've still not used GUSD. I've been wanting to do it, and I've heard good things about it. So it sounds like you really do like it.
It's it is very much the most seamless fiat on and off ramp, which is what I use.
Nice.
If I'm in DeFi and I have capital gains and I want to take capital gains, I just convert it on 1inch exchange, Uniswap, Maca into GUSD. I send the GUSD to Gemini, and in 2 days you get an ACH to your bank account.
Awesome. It's a beautiful thing. And now you said capital gains, people's eyes are rolling into the back of their head right now. So I think right now this is a good time to stop, because we're going to be talking about crypto taxes here pretty soon on the show. So we'll hold that for later. But before we go, is there anywhere I'd love for you to be able to show everyone where they can find you on the internet, because you honestly are a wealth of knowledge, and I really appreciate you.
Everyone could always find me. Just Google my name, Noah Seidman, Seidman. I'm Twitter and YouTube. It's a daily YouTube stream about content, just like you heard, and it's full on Q&A. So, and the sky's the limit. My interest is getting people to break through the barriers and to realize the system is not in their favor, and inaction is not okay. And you have to step out of your comfort zone to protect yourself and your families. And it's that serious. And that's why I talk the way I do, with the tone and content that I provide.
You're absolutely right. This is an extremely serious time, and it's sad to watch so many people all over the world that have no clue that we are in the greatest collapse in Earth's history, because the entire Earth is in the exact same situation. So I hate to end on a bad note, a bummer note, but it is important. And I thank you, Noah, for continually sounding the alarm like I'm doing, and so many others. And I really appreciate you coming on the show. Seriously.
Much a pleasure.
Awesome. Hey, guys, the Economic Ninja is out.